Hi, my name is Ryan Kohler, Hiring Guru, with today's hiring tip. Now, today we're going to talk about empathy during interviews. It's kind of a different subject, but it's one that I just love to talk about. Make sure you stick around to the end. I'll tell you how to download our job interview question guide. It gives you the top 20 questions that you should think about using in an interview or be prepared to ask. All right, so even though I'm the CEO of a company and we're at about 140, 150 employees, I've been doing a bunch of interviews lately in hiring. I've got this little team that I've created on the side and we're working on some new initiatives, and so I get to hire my own people, which I don't generally do a lot of hiring. I don't do a lot of job ad writing or posting or screening, etc. But I've got this little group of like 5 people I've hired in the last month. And as I've gone through that process, it got me thinking, I wonder how deliberate most people are, business owners or HR people or managers, at looking at that interview and what's actually going on. Clearly, for me, I'm a bit different. I spend this time in the hiring world, and I'm a thought leader in the hiring space, and I speak to thousands and thousands of employers. And so as I'm going through hiring and doing interviews, I also have stepped back and gone, I wonder what's really going on here. I wonder what the experience is like, not just for me, but for this individual sitting across from me. Clearly, for me, I have this highly unique company that people really want to work at. And as the CEO showing up in an interview, it's pretty unexpected, let alone a guy dressed in jeans and a t-shirt who shows up in an interview and is insanely laid back and casual about the conversation and what goes on. And so I just wonder, when's the last time you stopped what you were doing and being focused on the questions you're asking and rating the applicant, and actually stopped and had some empathy for the person on the other side of the table from you? When's the last time you stopped and said, I wonder what's going on in their mind right now? I wonder what their life was like as they headed into this interview today. I wonder, did they have anxiety? Were they stressed out? What did they go look up and look at? What did they tell their family? Who helped them? Who prepared them? Was it nobody? Did they just literally show up here deathly afraid of what was about to happen? How badly do they need this job? How badly do they need this opportunity? And so I guess my question is, have you sat down and asked yourself, what is it like from their side? And specifically, I have this one question to ask. What questions do they have that they're afraid to ask you? Just think about that for a minute, because I think we take for granted that while coming and working for us might be an opportunity in the future, maybe we have career development or career paths, maybe we're offering them a raise compared to they work right now, the short-term impact of taking a job with us is going to be a big giant dip of frustration. Just stop and think about all of your policies designed around the first 30, 60, 90, 6 months, a year of working for you. Think about it. PTO, paid holidays, insurance, vacations. Just imagine your poor job seeker sitting across the table from you who has a vacation they planned for months and months. Suddenly they find themselves out of work, or they're just finally fed up with their jerk boss. They want to get a new job, but they don't dare tell you that they have a vacation coming up. Or they don't dare tell you they have a vacation because even if you approved it, they wouldn't get paid for it, and they'd be left in debt for not having any PTO to use. Think about what happens when you quit your job and you lose your insurance for 90 days and you have to pay COBRA. And so while you might be getting a raise long-term, short-term, you're actually losing money by taking this new job opportunity. Think about all of those things that are going to negatively impact their life or potentially negatively impact their life that they're afraid to ask you because they're afraid you'll judge them for it. They're afraid that you'll filter them out for it. You're afraid that they'll say that they're not really dedicated to getting a job with you. Since when did wanting to go on vacation, since when did wanting to take care of their family, since when did wanting to pay the power bill become some sign of a lack of dedication to work for a brand new employer who hasn't actually shown them anything of value yet? Hasn't built up the bank account, hasn't given them anything yet, and yet they sit there afraid to ask some very simple questions. Imagine what it's like for them. Can you do that? Because I would say that one of the biggest things lacking in the hiring process is empathy. It's just empathy of being able to sit in their shoes, or heaven forbid, compassion. Heaven forbid the upside or the step forward of empathy, then doing something about what you know. So I would like to propose one simple thing. One simple thing you could do that will dramatically change what the interview is like. It won't cost you any money. It simply requires that you have some compassion for the person sitting across from you. And here's what it is. Actually act like you care. And here's how you go about doing it. When you're sitting there in the interview, give them permission to ask their questions. Don't just say, do you have any questions for us? That doesn't give them permission to ask the hard questions. Here's what I suggest you do. At some point during the interview, you stop and you say this. You say, hey, job seeker, I bet that you have some questions that you're afraid to ask us. I bet that you're sitting there right now thinking about not how exciting this opportunity might be, but that the first 90 days of working for us might actually be less than exciting. It might actually be worse than where you work right now. That maybe you're worried about a vacation you have coming up or when PTO kicks in. Maybe you're worried about you're losing your health benefits for this period of time. Now look, I can't promise that I can solve any of those problems for you. What I can promise is that I'm going to give you the floor to ask whatever question you want, and I will not judge you for being honest about your fears. That's it. When they ask their questions, just listen, validate them, and even if you can't do anything about it, at least they will know that you as an employer care. You see, supposedly, we value our employees above everything else. Supposedly, they're our greatest asset. Supposedly, they're like a family to us. Supposedly, we have this tight, cohesive bond. Supposedly, we care deeply about them, and yet, when they're in the interview process, we don't show them any of that. We have them deathly afraid to say a single thing for fear that they'll be judged and kicked out of the process and never hear from us again. So, what can you do? Show some empathy. Just show some empathy. Just ask that question. Give them the stage and the power to be vulnerable and tell you what they're afraid of. And then at least at the very smallest least thing, just tell them you understand. Tell them that you can't do anything about it, but you understand that they're making a sacrifice by switching jobs at a time when you really need to hire them. So that's today's hiring tip. I know it's a little bit different, but I challenge you to go and try it out. I know I have in the interviews I've been doing. In fact, now I've taken a step further, and you'll hear in some future interviews, I've gone and actually changed my PTO policy. I've gone and started changing my own policies to alleviate some of those fears and frustrations of switching jobs, some of that friction of the job switch. And in a future video, I'll talk through exactly what we're doing to try to fix it. But so that's today's hiring tip. Show some empathy. Open up the floor, tell them that they can ask their questions, explain what questions or fears they might have to give them permission to talk about it. Now, I told you if you stuck around to the end, I'll tell you how to download a super cool new download that we've got. It's called the Job Interview Questions group. It gives you 20 job interview questions that are proven to be great interview questions to ask to open up job seekers, to give you a better insight into how good of an employee they'll be. Just go and click on the link in the email or below this video or on the blog post you're looking at. Download it. You'll love it. It's free. And it will help you come up with some new ideas for job questions that you can ask. Hope this video finds you well, and until next time, good luck hiring.